We have a SaaS product and we're using Amplitude on the marketing website using Google Tag Manager. Once somebody signs up or logs in, they're then in the logged in app, and there we're using segments and sending all the events server side. Right now we have two different projects, marketing website and product. We want to merge them into one project. We want to do the identity resolution. As far as I understand, we need to pass the device ID to the server side when somebody signs up or logs in so that we can associate that anonymous visitor to a known user. I was wondering if there's any best practices for how to do this.
On the passing it in the URL parameter, usually that's being done for cross-domain things because those cookies are first party, and otherwise your Amplitude SDK will initiate a new device ID and you will start from scratch. The URL parameters allow you to use a specific parameter, and as soon as the SDK loads, it will first look into that parameter, see if it's populated, and write it then. What I showed here before with Amplitude is set user ID. Segment has the same thing. It's called Analytics Identify, and it's going to do exactly the same thing. The tricky part is that you run stuff on a server when you enrich the user ID.
In the logged in environment, we're not using segment or Amplitude on the client side. We're just using segment on the server side.
Then your solution is passing the device ID that lives on the client to the back. And then doing the identify is going to be either you're using a backend SDK of segment or you're using the API. Depending on which segment SDK you're going to use, there's going to be an identify call available, but you can send in a user call. And then you can bundle the device ID and they call it anonymous ID. If you pass those along, it's going to be exactly the same thing. You're going to do an identify call on the server side. The reason why segment has this set user ID is because under the hood, the only thing between brackets that it's doing is it's communicating to Amplitude the user ID, which would be auth0, right? But under the hood in that payload, what it's also doing is it's adding the device ID. The objective of an identify call is actually to make sure that they're both being seen once together, because that builds the identity graph, right? The same with segment. It builds the identity graph that way. So if you can pass from the client in your post request to your server that device ID, which you can get through the command I actually showed you, which is get device ID, this one, it exists for different SDKs. So iOS and Android also have this function built in. If you do this and you pass it along with your request to your backend can then authenticate or send a server-side request to segment with the payload of both anonymous ID, user ID, and it will map correctly.
So we can do the get device ID call when they're on the marketing website. If somebody went directly to the login page where we're not running Amplitude, is there any way to get that device ID from local storage or anywhere else, or they have to visit a page where Amplitude's running and we run it in the client?
They have to visit a page where you are deploying Amplitude. Even if your product login is on a different domain, it won't work because it's all going to be first party. So you won't be able to read cookies that are written on the other domain.
Thank you.